Reality shows. Sometimes I love them, but most times,
So this is for outdoors with
Okay.
a swimming pool. And then, big surprise.
they're a little too cringe. But I gotta admit, regardless of how trashy the show is, I've always been kinda curious about what goes on behind those cameras. The Crush House is a game that kinda gives us the opportunity to do just that, allowing players to live out the role of a producer or camera staff in a hit reality TV show. When I saw this concept, I couldn't help but be intrigued, so I went ahead and got the game, and well, I do have quite a bit of thoughts. So if you're looking to buy this game but wondering if it'll be a right fit for you, do watch ahead as there are certain things that you might need to be aware of. I'll try to help you decide as best I can, and I'll be keeping this review spoiler free. First off, let's talk about the premise. You're playing as the new producer for the hit reality TV show, The Crush House. Your job is to cast a group of 4 people to live in the house for 5 days and film their interactions for the entertainment of your audience. Every day, a different audience will be tuning into your show, and it'll be up to you to satisfy a set number of them before the day ends in order to prevent the show's cancellation. Each of these audiences will have specific needs, of course. We got the classic viewers who are looking for spicy events, romantic stuff, the cutest guys or girls, and then we got the weirder stuff like conspiracy theories or pyromaniacs, and of course the Lighthouse fans who, for some reason, don't really have any interest in the cast and are instead very fixated on that lighthouse in the distance. Very relaxing, I suppose. You can't solely focus on filming for the fans though, as you also need to run ads and get that sweet ad revenue that you need to afford decorating the house with more stuff that will help you with side missions or pleasing the audiences later on. The game really screams style and glamour though, and the art style reflects this, giving us a blindingly vibrant color scheme that fits the premise perfectly. You get to select 4 out of the 12 possible cast members who are quite colorful both figuratively and literally, with different backgrounds that generally affect the way they interact with each other during the season. These different dynamics help create the scenarios that certain audiences are looking for, so it's good to kind of plan it out and experiment to see how they all fit in the show. The house itself is also really nice. Well, except for your own room, of course. And as I mentioned, you have the ability to customize it with your ad revenue, allowing you to get really creative alongside their practical use for the show. Now, the setup alone sounds really fun, and there is an interesting narrative behind all this that I won't spoil. Unfortunately, the execution kinda sucks. First off, the concept of pleasing audiences while balancing cast dynamics sounds great in theory. I mean, you're a producer, so it makes sense that you have to satisfy your viewers, no matter how unhinged their request may be. At the same time, the reason why reality shows are fun to watch is that you can see drama unfold, and having the opportunity to see what goes on behind the scenes is a great premise to put in a game. This is still kind of the case, but the scenarios quickly lose their novelty when you see the same canned interactions play out multiple times. The supposed personalities of the cast are hardly fleshed out. In fact, there are only really a handful of times that you get to see something unique from each one, which is usually in the form of a single side quest. This is worsened by the fact that every season becomes harder, so instead of paying attention to the dialogue, you're mostly just running around finding the right angles to capture multiple crowd-pleasing things at once to speed up the process and avoid cancellation, rather than paying any attention to the cast themselves. Speaking of seasons, the ability to have multiple seasons is also really cool because it allows you to experiment and get different combinations of audiences and cast members. And like I mentioned, the network also starts to become more demanding, so if you started off in season 1 needing to satisfy, say, 3 out of 5 audiences during the first day, in season 2, you'll need to up that to satisfy 4 audiences instead. This gives it a pretty good challenge so that each run doesn't really become stale. Unfortunately, despite this, it kinda does get stale. Gameplay is really just running around while aiming the camera. The good thing is that your character plays well and controls feel good with very few glitches to speak of, but since gameplay can be repetitive, you're naturally going to expect that the dialogue or the narrative will be the saving grace here. Sadly, this isn't the case because devs only created dialogue for the first season. making it feel like you're only repeating the same first season multiple times. The production assistant that guides you in the beginning says you're on season 2 or season 3, but they just keep giving you the same spiel about firing the last person and introducing you to the mechanics and rules. Even cast members act like you're meeting them for the first time, even when you cast them over and over again. Now, admittedly, there is a potential explanation for this, but I can't really explain in detail without spoiling too much. However, be that as it may, even with the whole picture in mind, I still think that it doesn't make sense gameplay-wise. In the end, the concept, gameplay, and the story have such massive potential, but the game only really dips into these great ideas without going into too much depth, leaving us with the unusual scenario where you have gameplay that felt slow and repetitive, and a narrative that felt rushed and incomplete. It's like the devs had a lot of ideas they wanted to go into, but they didn't know how to bring them all together in a cohesive way, so it kind of comes off really shallow, unfortunately. So if you ask me if I'd recommend it, I'd probably say just wait for a sale, because the game is enjoyable for the first 2 seasons, while you get the hang of things and unlock new audiences, but it kind of loses that fun near the latter half of gameplay, which I think is a little sad because the concept is brilliant. Just needed a little bit more time in the oven to flesh out the narrative and gameplay, and they would have been golden. But I'd love to hear what you guys think down below. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh about this. Maybe there are strong points that I'm probably overlooking. Do let me know in the comments, and if you like what you see, don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Sai from Fireplace Gaming, and I hope to see you again real soon.